today's installment of 5-Minute Tones, I want to show you how to set up stereo amps on your Axe FX3 and FM9. Furthermore, I want to give you a bunch of different ideas for running stereo effects before a pair of amps. We will start off with a mono amp and cab setup. Very simple preset. I've got the input block running into an amp block. I've got the Class A 30-watt Brilliant amp model dialed up at the moment. I have my free cab IR loaded in the cab block. It sounds like this on my Chilia Renegade. That's a lovely crunchy AC30 style tone. To turn this into a stereo capable setup, we're going to do three things. The first thing we're going to do is take the amp block. I'll right click it. I'll hit edit and copy. I'll come down here and I'll paste that block. I will then cable it up. So that's our first step completed. The next thing that we need to do, and this is really, really important, is we're going to come down to the input select on this first amp. We'll set it to left, and then I'll turn the balance control all the way to the left. Similarly, in the second amp block, we're going to go input select and we'll hit right. I will then pan this hard right. This way, this amp here is only processing the right channel of any signal before it, and this amp is only processing the left channel. The final step is to set up a stereo cab block. I'm using a single IR at the moment. What we're going to do is set the input mode to stereo. I'm going to come over here and unmute this second cab, and I'll just set it so that it's referencing the exact same cab. So in my case, user bank number 1, slot number 4, then I'm going to pan this cab to the left and this cab to the right. Now, when you hear this, it's going to sound exactly the same as it did in our mono setup. That's because we don't have any stereo capable effects before the amps. We can build the preset out with as many stereo pre-effects as we like. And depending on the effect you're using, you might get a drastically different tone to running the effects before the amp and cab and any distortion, and running them after the amp and cab. A great example, in my opinion, is something like a phaser. I've got the simple Stripe 90 phaser loaded up, but in the expert tab, I have set the LFO phase to 90 degrees. If we hear it at the stock setting, we're just going to get a mono phaser tone, but at 90, it's going to sound nice and wide. That's a pretty subtle example. Another one would be running something like the MXR Stereo Chorus, which has a phase reverse on one of the channels. This is going to sound super wide in stereo, but if you tried running it into a pair of amps where you haven't set up the input and balance correctly, the chorus is actually going to disappear because of that phase reverse, and it definitely sounds different running it before distortion and after distortion. Similarly, running something like the TC2290 model, where you've got a phase reverse on one of the audio channels, can give you that wonderful rhythmic slapback, and I think these edge-style rhythmic echoes really work best when the delay is before any crunch, but it's still going to give you that massive stereo width that you get from the 2290. One last one that doesn't actually involve any stereo time-based effects is setting up two amps identically. I've got the FAS Stealth Blue in both channels here, but using a different input boost on each of them. At the moment, I have the CC boost loaded into both of them. I'm gonna switch it over to the shred boost in just one of the amp blocks, and you'll hear this get subtly wider without using chorus or detune. And of course, combining multiple subtle stereo effects works really well. That's the phaser with the 90-degree phase offset before the stereo pair of amps, each with a different input boost, and of course some wonderful dual detune at the end of the chain. I hope you found this video useful, even if just for that stereo amp setup, and hopefully the effect ideas give you some fun things to play around with in your own presets and to create your own tones. If you like this kind of video and you want to support the channel directly, links to my music and the Patreon are in the video description. Go and make some loud guitar noises now, and I'll see you next time.